You may have realized that being healthy feels different than it did in the past now that you're over 50. If you want to maximize your health potential but don't have time to read through overwhelming pages of Google links, this is the show for you. Welcome to Healthy Tips After 50. We love doing the research, finding solutions, talking to health experts, and learning what works and what doesn't. Now, your host. She spent the last 25 years dedicated to feeling her best and is here to share her best findings with you, Susan Rosen.
So this is Susan, and I am on today to do the intro to the new podcast, and that's because we had a little bit of a glitch when we started recording it, and so we lost the beginning part, so I'm just going to do a short intro, and I sure hope all of this is working. It says it's recording, so we'll see. Let's see. For this podcast, my guest was someone who was a really interesting person and has a very interesting background. And we, as you will see in the second part, had a very good conversation. So his name is Dr. Barrie Tan, and he has done a lot of pioneering research with a long list of vitamins. And those include vitamin E, K, I don't know how to pronounce this, but geranyl, I don't know, also known as GG. I like that better. And CoQ10, and a lot of work with annatto fruit. And you'll hear about that in the latter part of the podcast. And he has a Ph.D. in chemistry and biochemistry from the University of Otago, New Zealand, which he received in 1978. And he spent several years as a professor at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. He has also committed himself to the research and development of phytonutrients that reduce and slow chronic disorders ever since he finished his education and also left University of Massachusetts. He has also held the roles of Chief Scientific Officer and Scientific Board Member for multinational organizations, and Barrie's career includes periods working in association with the U.S. Armed Forces as well as the Prince of Thailand. So you can see he's got a varied, interesting background. He's also successfully launched multiple businesses in the nutrition industry and owns an array of patents and intellectual property that's keeping him at the forefront of scientific innovation. So I think that's enough background information for you to learn a little bit about him and to be able to understand the longer rest of the podcast. And I hope that you all enjoy it as much as I did in recording it. And I will talk to you very soon in the next part. So great. So if you can, we had a little bit of a glitch here, people, and Barrie's going to start again where he was, and I'm going to put all this together at the end. So Barrie, let's keep going and see what happens. That's right. You can just keep from wherever you were. You were talking about lipids and how you'd gotten to the lipids.
Yeah. So now that I have got into the lipid research, that was in 1983, and I stayed with it, studying vitamin E, tocopherol, tocotrienol, vitamin K, K1, which is phylloquinone, and K2, many of the manoquinones, as well as CoQ10. All these are relatively well-known compounds, and all the carotenes, carotenoids, started with beta-carotene, alpha-carotene, lycopene, lutein, good for the eye. These are all lipid-soluble material. I've stayed with mostly that. Not that water-soluble material aren't important. I just didn't spend time studying the water-soluble. There's so much thing, and you have to check out what you study. So that's what I've been doing. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been finding and what you found, what you're still finding? I assume you're still working
Yeah.
in
Okay.
that area.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Um, Somewhere in the mid 80s, I was studying carotene, the colors of life, like you see in
mm,
the vegetable, orangey color like that. And then there was a professor at Harvard, and she was looking in the back of the retina of the eye when the light is shining through the lens here that goes through here. And to
mhm.
protect the retina as we age, she found that that they have a lutein and zeaxanthin that filters out the blue light, so it would protect this. So that got me back into the carotene study. So I went to South America looking for giant marigold plant. And
Uh-huh.
this giant marigold plant petals have huge amount of lutein. I'll show you a picture. This is from my book, The Truth About Vitamin
Uh-huh.
E. You can download later for free, like that.
Yep.
And this is a picture of me. You can see a much younger me with hair. And I
Ah.
was looking at the
Uh-huh.
marigold plant that I have. So
Wow.
that was what I went what to do. That to tell you the story why I went to South America. Then fate has it, literally 30 feet away from me, I saw this plant. This plant is annatto. And this plant
Okay.
annatto also have the red color. And the red color, if you imagine I try to do this, it would stain. That red color is also a carotene. It's a very beautiful and yet unusual plant. If you look at it, it have lots of seeds and
Yeah.
and then they have color, but they have no flesh. So the plant make the seed without the flesh. So they figure out a way by conserving energy to trick the birds of the air and the Amazon tree frogs to swallow the seed, thinking it's like a fruit and is able to procreate. But this color is very stunning looking, and so the
Yeah.
plant is having to make a protectant and antioxidant to make the color not decompose. So now I'm making the connection between carotene I went to South America to look for, which I did, and this is a plant which also have carotene, but it's not what I went to South America to look. And I study it because the carotene in the annatto is not easily destroyed. It stick around for a long time. So
Okay.
I was guessing it must contain some antioxidant that protect it. It was only a guess. And I was guessing that it probably was a polyphenol. All of us know polyphenol,
Uh-huh.
resveratrol, quercetin is good for you, but it wasn't. And then it was a vitamin E. And I had been working on vitamin E before, like
Uh-huh.
that. So there was what a surprise. And then even more surprisingly, it is a vitamin E that is tocotrienol, the lesser known vitamin E,
Okay.
like
Uh-huh.
that, which I had been studying before. And the most
Uh-huh.
surprising part was it contained only tocotrienol without any
Oh,
tocopherol. And normally
okay.
in plant, they don't do that. They either have all tocopherols or a
Mm-hmm.
mix of tocopherol and tocotrienol, but never just
Ah,
tocotrienol like that. So
okay.
so for the reason I went to South America to look for lutein and zeaxanthin,
Mm,
I found it. I came back, I changed my course again, and then start to study annatto. So that
okay.
ended my discovery unintended for the annatto tocotrienol. So that, in a nutshell, that was it.
And so ever since then, that's been the major focus
Yes,
of your everything,
research.
research
Yeah,
and I'm assuming in your business and
and the extraction, the business.
yeah.
Now the reason that is like that was 20 years before then, and
Hmm.
sometime life have a path, and the path is not straight.
Yeah.
So clearly,
Yeah.
this is one of them. And I had been 20 years before then interested in tocotrienol. In
Hmm.
plant, when we extract this vitamin E, mostly they are the four tocopherol. Alpha tocopherol, the most well-known of vitamin E, beta, delta, and gamma, the four Greek letters.
Hmm.
And then we know that there are 4 tocotrienol with the same Greek letter, alpha, beta, delta, gamma, tocotrienol. So 4 tocopherols and 4 tocotrienol. In the plants that we eat, especially from a Western diet, it typically contains the tocopherol, little bit of tocotrienol, such as, and they're not common places. Tocopherols common would be soy, canola, corn, oil, like that. Tocotrienol would be pistachio, macadamia, so you can have traces of it, coconut, but not a lot of it. Then for 20 over years, I have been in search for tocotrienol. I found them in rice bran, which is not a tremendous thing in the US, but nonetheless, you can find them. If you eat tempura, Japanese tempura, you can see that they fry them in rice bran. And palm oil, and people are concerned that palm oil have saturated fat, but nonetheless, you can find tocotrienol. So palm and rice, at the time when I discovered them, contain about 25 to 50% tocopherol. That means that they have about 50 to 75% tocotrienol. Good, but no cigars, kind of. And then, so I segued to study carotene, looking for the lutein and zeaxanthin I mentioned to you. I went to Peru, and then my attention was arrested with annatto, and then I discovered that in annatto, it is 100% tocotrienol. Never in my experience had like that. So if you were to do a vitamin E analysis, it contained delta tocotrienol and then gamma tocotrienol. Delta is about 90%, gamma is about 10%. Hence, we call and trademark it Delta Gold, just as a way to trademark this kind of unusual tocotrienol. So then, after my discovery, you asked then what do you do with it? Several things. I have to figure out how to extract this vitamin E delta tocotrienol from the plant one. After I extracted it, I have to seek FDA for approval that it is safe for use in human. Another step. And then the step that I took the most time would be to do many, many animals, there are hundreds of them. And then probably about 20 clinical study. And all these take huge amount of time, never mind financial resources. Now we did that. So now we are telling people how the annatto tocotrienol could be useful to them. And of all the studies we did, they are largely circumscribing the area of chronic conditions. Chronic conditions such as high lipids, pre-diabetes, diabetes, and fatty liver conditions, as well as cancer studies. So those are the big group of studies. So you can pick and choose what you want me to talk about, but essentially chronic conditions.
Okay. And so are the I don't know if you or somebody else is packaging these so that people can start taking the tocotrienols. Or is it something? Well, let me rephrase. Is this something? I understand with some of the cancer and all of that. Is this something that people should start taking on a regular basis, even if they do not have? Maybe we can go down that road to say, how does it apply to those of us that have not
have no such conditions?
Right, exactly.
Yes, that's a good question. First, you asked a question early on. Let me try to answer that. We don't make finished products. So therefore, our clients are company, not people. We make them in large amount. So our clients, so they make finished product.
All right.
If the listener are interested in, you go to our website, American River Nutrition, and then you can download all the studies, and then it will be a part to say buying products, and then you think that we don't, you see. Then we'll list all the companies that sell them. So like that. And in the clinical studies, we do make the soft gels because you have to give people, you cannot give people buckets of things, you can't do like that. So you give people soft gels and then they take it with a meal. So it's that part. As to if a person is not disposed to this kind of conditions, then would that be reasonable for them to take? Yes, and I'll tell you how so.
Okay.
In a human body, that approximately on the light side of 130 pounds, on the high side probably 180 pounds, say. So say 150 pounds, we have 38 trillion cells. It approximates to about 5,000 times the population of the world. So lots of cells. And every cell look like a bean shape, more or less. You know, a muscle cell will be more like stratiated, but otherwise most cells look like a bean shape. And I'm trying to explain why normal people want it.
Yeah,
And
no, that's okay.
contain in the cell a nucleus, and then my nucleus is make you look like your parents, me look like my parents, because of the DNA contained in there. And then you have mitochondria that produce energy. Everybody knows that. And then the other strange sounding name, the Golgi apparatus, the endoplasmic reticulum. These are the places that make certain proteins back and forth like that, so that the cell can do the job that it's supposed to do. Now, that's just what's inside the cell normally. Contained surrounding the cell, we call that the cell wall. Approximately 80% of the cell wall is fat, like that. So for the cell to function properly, the cell wall must be working properly to allow nutrients to go in the cell and the waste generated from the cell to get out of the cell. So think of this as a community of people that is gated. So if you have a gated community, nutrients come in and waste goes out and everything is functioning properly. So this is the place where tocotrienol vitamin E worked. About 40, 50 years ago, there was an Austrian professor. Because the cell wall is 80% fat, he was wanting to know what are the antioxidants that protect the cell wall. And today, everybody's here that everything and anything that people say that their product are antioxidant. I'm hoping to cut to the chase. We eat three kind of food group: protein, fat, and carbohydrate. Of these three things, fat is the lowest lying fruit to go bad. Yes, protein can go bad. Yes, carbohydrate can go bad, but fat is the easiest thing to go bad. You have a stick of butter on a hot summer day, go back to smell it 2 hours later. You drive past a roadkill on a summer day, and then that stench that you smell, that is oxidized fat. It's the first thing to go bad. So I care most that the fat would go bad. Now I explained to you 80% of the cell wall is fat. And that's not the love handle. Yes, the love handle is fat, and then the butt, the arm here, all these are fat. But fat is in places that you cannot see. That's where most of the fat are, and that's the cell wall. So this Austrian professor was wanting to know, on the cell wall, what are the important antioxidants? Those are the antioxidants he cares about. And then he found out that all those antioxidants, one, they're lipid soluble. Remember, I was interested in lipid and nutrient, lipid soluble. And 90% of those antioxidants are vitamin E type molecule like tocopherols and tocotrienol. And less than 10% of them are carotene and CoQ10. So because of that, I am now sifting it down. The antioxidant that we care about are the ones that protect the cell wall from going bad. And those kind of molecules are vitamin E molecule. And tocotrienol is 50 times more potent than tocopherol. So now you cut out all the noise of the antioxidant. You care about the antioxidant that protects the lipid and the lipid that protect the cell wall, and those kind are the vitamin E, and the vitamin E, the best kind are the tocotrienol because they are 50 times more potent. So if you believe what I just said, then for a normal person, not otherwise have chronic condition, you take 1 to 200 milligram to protect your cells from oxidative damage. So then your cell will behave properly. So it's a gated community. The good things nutrient goes in, and then the waste will go up. So that's it. In a very sorry, a little bit long-winded.
Oh, no. I love it. I love it. That's great. You know, I mean, that just, number one, it's always fascinating how, I was going to say the body, but it's not even just the body. I mean, science, just how these things all connect and affect negatively, positively on so many other things that we all, you know, we all think that, oh no, it's very straightforward. And in a way it kind of is, with little turns in the middle of it.
But wait, because you ask if a person is normal and not otherwise ill with chronic condition, that's why I show the concept of a cell. The cell is a normal thing. However, we do study people with pre-diabetes, diabetes, and then they have already have a chronic condition. But if it's not, then it'll be oxygen. How to protect the fat in the body that needs to be there so that they do not easily go bad or oxidize. Why oxidize? Because oxygen that we need to live, 1 in 10,000 molecule of oxygen, 99.999% of the oxygen is for us to breathe every day, to do the work that it's supposed to do. 1 in 10,000 will go wacko. For the one that go wacko is very active. It just wants to be stabilized. And the way it gets stabilized is going after the easiest thing that it can go after, and that would be a fat. And where are those fat? Those fat are in your cell wall. That's it. This is another way to look at it. We cannot live without oxygen. But if we live with oxygen, we have to deal with the 1 in 10,000 that will go off. That's how you do it.
Wow. Yeah. That's, sorry. It took a minute to, you know, just kind of take all of that in. It's so fascinating. Okay. So obviously if people have, you know, diseases, I'll call it, that's not necessarily something that we're here to tell people to be dealing with. Maybe this is something though that they could point their doctors to find out more.
Yeah. I think the way I said, you know, I'm not a physician, so we base this on animal studies. You know, we have a pre-diabetic rat or mice, and then we have diabetic animals, and then we have animals with different cancers. So that's how you begin the study.
Correct.
So when we gave them tocotrienol, this special kind of vitamin E, and then from Annatto that I mentioned to you, and then it helped them. So eventually, and then largely in the last 10, 12 years, we begin to do clinical studies. So this is still not a recommendation. So if you believe that is true, then you have to do clinical study. So we did. We first did work on people with dyslipidemia, which means that the cholesterol is high, the triglyceride is high, and then they would drop. We also studied the inflammation. The inflammation is in control. Then we studied people with pre-diabetes, where the sugar is not super high to be diabetic, but normal high. And then the triglyceride is not off the chart, but normal high. And then we did study on it, and then they come into balance. So that's another good suggestion. So we study people who are diabetic, who are on medication, the sugar is high, And then we gave them the tocotrienol and the sugar come to normal. We're still not asking people to, we're just letting people today can read on the internet published study.
Please.
And if you want the published study, we'll greatly send it to you. And then you can make your decision, or you can get a copy of the study and talk to your health professional or your doctor. No problem. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then in the last group that we study are people with fatty liver disease. Fatty liver disease is part of a subset of things we call metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome, Susan, mean that people who metabolic, meaning their sugar, their triglyceride, their cholesterol, like that. These are normal metabolites in your body. But as we age, they are out of kilter. The sugar is high, triglyceride, cholesterol are high. So when these things are all high, the body is compensating. And in part of the compensation, you can see the inflammation goes up. So these are telltale signs that your doctor can measure. So we gave people who, and one of the manifestation of this metabolic syndrome are people with fatty liver disease, largely because of eating a diet that have lots of fat and carbohydrate, and eventually the liver is stressed and the liver becomes fatty. And so we decided to study fatty liver disease. And this condition have an acronym, NAFLD. It's simply acronized for non-alcohol fatty liver disease, NAFLD.
Right.
And this NAFLD is awkwardly put, but if you put NAFLD, you're going to find a lot of studies like this.
Oh, yeah.
So essentially, NAFLD livers look like those with alcohol cirrhosis. That's it. In the simplest term, it's like this. So high fat and high carb diet for a long period of time can have a sustained liver that messed up by alcohol like this. So we study people with NAFLD using tocotrienol. First, we saw that the inflammation dropped, the liver stress enzyme dropped, and then we saw that the steatosis is the fat in the liver. We use ultrasound, and then the fat is removed from the liver. And also, if the fat in the liver is been around for a long time, then they have fibrosis, which means that if the fat is stored a long time, the liver cells will will have scarring tissue. And if that scarring tissue is considered non-reversible. So we also saw that being arrested and not get any worse. We did a study in 3 months. We also did a separate study in 6 months. And finally, we did a final study in 12 months. So the audience want to ask, why did you do 3, 6, and 12 month study? The liver is the largest solid organ. If it's surface area, then it's the skin. If it's weight, then the largest organ is the liver. So when we did a successful 3 months and 6 months, I wasn't fully convinced that it was impressive, but I wasn't convinced enough that if you stay to 12 months, it will continue to work. I need to know that it works sustainably. And now I can say that at 3, 6, and 12 months, it works sustainably. And then when we did, we noticed something. We noticed at 3 months, the patient had weight loss, and so was 6 months and 12 months. I'm still leery to call it a weight loss product. Usually weight loss people are measuring weight loss after 4 weeks at least. But our first study was at 3 months. So however, we can say at 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months, we saw sustainable loss in weight. So if somebody will ask me, so what do you think of now tocotrienol as a weight loss product? I will put it this way. We did see patients have weight loss at 3, 6, and 12 months, so it's sustainable. However, I rather not call it weight loss. Instead, I would call it that their body metabolism are out of kilter. So when you bring it back into balance again, as a response to that, the body weight also come back to balance like that. So if people say weight loss is with that understanding, I'm good with that. So I would say tocotrienol would bring a person's out of balance life into balance, just like our life would be when we are emotionally out of balance to bring it to balance,
Right.
or psychologically out of whack to come back to whack.
Yeah.
So this is more physiologic. Our body is stressed out of whack physiologic and bring it up to balance. And like anything else in life, when things are back into balance, there will be clarity in other aspects. So we tested on fat, but surprisingly the weight loss. So it is it's nothing to sneeze at, but it is a good byproduct, a good side effect to have weight loss for people who otherwise would be typically overweight when they have fatty liver.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Especially as you say, where it's a fat related product's not the right word, but fat related item.
Yeah. When we take a lot of fat, the fat seems to love to enter the liver. Some of the fat are stored away in our omentum, in a central part of our body, sometime in our butt, and sometime in tissue. But most of the time, they are stored in cells that your eyes cannot see. It's just like, because 38 trillion cells are a lot, so we cannot fathom it. That's why I gave people the feeling that 38 trillion cell is approximate to 5,000 times the population of the world. Then we have a little better feeling of what this look like. So that is one of and probably the last study on this that we are now doing is in Texas. The study won't complete until end of next year. We're studying men and women with obesity, which means that the BMI is 30 to 35. So now they're overtly carrying a lot of weight that will be burdensome to them in every sense of the word. Burdensome physically, burdensome physiologically. And then we wanted to see how tocotrienol would help to reduce the inflammation and the burden to the body. So I'm looking forward to the study to see how this might help. There may be weight loss, there may be inflammation reduction. We're testing many things. And since the study is blinded study, I cannot tell you what direction it is. End of next year, it's about a year next month, something like that.
Okay. So, excuse me. How about, have you looked at or had any ideas around with like memory loss and things, from with the brain at all? Because your brain is fat too, right?
Yes, the brain is a very special organ, and not and is gated even more specifically. There's a gate in the cell, and then we have what we call the blood-brain barrier. Things don't usually go in like that, so that to protect what enters the brain. 60% of the brain is fat, and much of the fat is omega-3. That's why we encourage people to take fish oil that had EPA and DHA, all good like that. And then because DHA and EPA is very unstable, so we encourage people to take vitamin E, specifically tocotrienol, because it will go to the brain. And then to answer your specific question, yes, tocotrienol has numerous indications to help in our brain health. That's a very general term. And different people study them differently. Some people study Parkinsonian disease, which means that they do not lose memory, but they lost the ability to have locomotion. Or study Alzheimer's disease, where they specifically lose memory. They don't have locomotion problem, but they have memory problem. And then there's Huntington disease like that. So what I read out there, not all of this research we do ourselves, other very good and successful scientists study them in brain health. The results from them is this, that tocotrienol help in retention of memory and help them in the memory skill. Like they have a study called Morris Maze, and you can Google Wikipedia, Morris Morris Maze, Maze. So basically, it is just think of a cross section. It is a circle like that, and it's about 1 meter or 1 yard in diameter, and then they flow water in one direction, and then they put rats, and the rat will swim against the current. So think of the rat swimming against the current, and then there's a wall up here. They put color pads on the wall like that. Let's say red color would be, they put red color, green color, yellow color, and then below, just slightly below the water, they put a small piece of plexiglass, and the plexiglass is same color as water, so the rat cannot see the plexiglass. So they'll swim around. They don't want to swim. They want to get on the plexiglass so that they are stop swimming, but they can't see the plexiglass is in water. So the way that they train the rat would be, they put a color pad above it. Let's say the plexiglass is here. Then above it, they put a yellow pad. And let's say the yellow pad is where the flex. So they'll swim. And after training the rat, they found that the rat that take tocotrienol may figure out the plexiglass, the yellow pad that lead them to the plexiglass in 2.5 weeks of training. And for the one not given tocotrienol control, they took 5 weeks. They can also figure it out, but they took 5 weeks to figure out the yellow pad, and that's where the plexiglass is.
Okay.
And then they try to make sure that this is what it is correct and not just coincidental on the yellow pad. So they take the rat away from the swimming thing, and after about 4 weeks or 5 weeks, the rat have forgotten the swimming pad. So when they put it back into the pool again, even those on tocotrienol, they will still take 5 weeks to figure it out. But if they give them tocotrienol again, they will find out the yellow pad, and again they'll go back to 2 weeks to figure it out. So that's it. So that tells you that the tocotrienol assists them in the memory of remembering the tocotrienol. So people do this kind of study. There's only one kind. Other people do other kinds of study to help in post-traumatic syndrome, either come back from war, have a trauma in their life like that, and this will help them to calm their brain like that. So they're all brain-related things, but not just only memory and Alzheimer.
Right.
Brain
No, it's
function.
brain. Yeah. Interesting. I'll have that's one I'll have to go check out.
Okay.
My brain is nowhere near what it used to be. So, interesting. Okay. And so if people are interested in, in looking into even if they don't have any issues, right, just trying to start adding it into their routine, right? Just whatever's on the packages is probably just fine. And is it vitamin E, or should it be tocotrienols by themselves, or what should people be looking for?
To do, I would say first the audience should get information. You can certainly not all can be covered in a 1-hour interview. You can download this book of mine, The Truth About Vitamin E, like that, or you can
put it in the show notes.
And then, or you can type my name, barrietan.com/book. You can also find the book. So that helps you to read more into this and go to Wikipedia or other search engines to read more. You can also go to my website, American River Nutrition, and download the white paper we wrote about all the different studies on it. And then when you go online to look for such product, First, if you type vitamin E,
Mm-hmm.
95% of the vitamin E would be tocopherol. You don't want
Right.
that. And then
Right.
everybody would sell that you don't want that. Then about 5% or less than 10% will be tocotrienol. When you
Uh-huh.
get to the tocotrienol part, you're going to see three things. You're going to see palm, rice, and annatto.
Right.
As I mentioned earlier, from palm and rice, they are 25 to 50% tocopherol. So they're good, but they're not really the one that you will
Right.
need that would
Uh-huh.
assist you. So you
Okay.
want to look for then the last one, annatto. Annatto is what the picture I show you, and it is
Uh-huh.
spelled
Yeah.
Annatto. If
Yeah.
you want to know where you can find annatto, if you go to Whole Foods or Trader Joe or you buy a
Yeah.
hunk of cheese, that orangey yellow color is annatto and the
Oh,
spelling is
okay.
there. So it's not a
Right.
strange thing. We
Uh-huh.
remove the color and there is
Yeah.
the vitamin E. Then if first you want to find the word annatto, then you want to find, if you want to be sure that it's made by us, then usually on the back panel, it will say something like, it's formulated with Delta Gold, DELTAGOLD. It's just a
Okay.
trade name of ours. It's made in
Uh-huh.
Massachusetts. And then you can
Okay.
find, and then if you want specific companies that make it that you buy, when you
Mm-hmm.
go to our website, it lists all the companies you can
Oh,
buy
good.
from. If you're not
Okay.
sure, you can send to us, ask us question, is this from your
Uh-huh.
company or like that?
Yeah.
As to the amount, based on our study, if it is for antioxidant protection, like we mentioned earlier in your
Mm-hmm.
show, probably 1 to 200 milligram a day taken with a meal, that would be good enough. And then based on our clinical study, if they're for pre-diabetes or diabetes,
Mm.
probably 3 or 400 milligram, that would be good enough like that. And a lot of this thing is published in our studies. And
Uh-huh.
then lastly, which we didn't cover, and many people do not want to even interview on it, but we can do clinical studies on it. Based on the clinical study for people that have cancer, we are
Mm.
studying 4 cancers, and my colleagues study the 5th one. I'll tell you the name of the cancers. You can go online and study and download this study.
Mm.
Pancreatic cancer is done by my colleague
Okay.
in Florida. And then
Uh-huh.
the 4 cancers that we are doing in Denmark are ovarian cancer, breast cancer, lung
Mm.
cancer, and colon. Once again,
Okay.
ovarian, breast, lung, and colon cancer. The last 2 are very common, and the first 2 are clearly women. And then my colleague doing pancreatic
Right.
cancer is the deadliest of all cancer like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we are
Yeah.
studying them. The ovarian cancer is positive, and the pancreatic cancer is also positive like that. So if
Mm.
you go online, if you're not sure when you download my book, you can go and figure out where those studies are.
Yes.
Those studies, people use a low 600 milligram to a high 900 milligram, like that, on stage 4 cancers when there are no available option. So I pretty
Mm.
much tell you the entire range. On the
Yeah.
highest range, 600 to 900. On the
Mm-hmm.
diabetes and pre-diabetes range, on the clinical study, about 400 to 600. And the
Uh-huh.
fatty liver, I mentioned earlier, 600. And then for
Uh-huh.
people who have no other chronic condition, 1 to 200 milligram.
Yeah.
If a person is light in weight, probably like
Uh-huh.
150 or less, then probably 150
Okay.
milligram would be good enough,
Okay.
or 125. And for someone is on a heavy weight,
Right.
150 to 200 pounds, then probably more like 300 milligram. All this denomination you can buy
Mm-hmm.
online. Just look for
Yeah.
Annatto Tocotrienol, and then look
Right.
for a brand, Delta Gold. And if you're
Uh-huh.
uncertain, they don't list them, you can email, let
Yeah.
us know. We'll let you know if they're from us.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's great. And like I say, I will put your website and some of the other information in the show notes. So if people are looking for that, that's where you need to go. And once you get to the website, that's kind of ground zero. So then you
Yeah.
can find lots of other things. And also if they want to ask questions, that's the
Yeah.
place to go as well. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
have I don't know. I think last time when we chat a few weeks ago, Susan,
Uh-huh.
and I
Yeah.
know, and I want to tell this more like a story form. When
Okay.
I removed the color, I was trying to find out the oxidant that protect the color, and we already spoke that antioxidant was tocotrienol. So when I got the tocotrienol out, it's a real blessing. I still find 1 or 2% something left in the pot. I was curious as a scientist what is left in the pot because the color is already removed. The tocotrienol is wonderful, is taken off. I have something still in the pot. And that something in the pot is a compound. I'm going to remove this. I want to show you this so that is this compound here. I put up front here. It's a
Uh-huh.
compound called geranol, GG, like that. If
Uh-huh.
you look in the background, that long molecule that stretched it back is called
Uh-huh.
coenzyme Q10. And a
Ah,
lot of
yes.
people know about CoQ10 for
Yeah.
energy like that. This
Uh-huh.
compound that I discovered in the Annatto, I'll say the proper word and then I acronymize it. It's called geranol. So just call it GG. And
Mm-hmm.
GG in the human body, I purposely kiss it to the background. You can see that? The black color is the carbon, the white color is the hydrogen.
Mm-hmm.
2.5 times the length of the tail is CoQ10. So CoQ10, you require GG to make CoQ10 in the human body. This is
Mm.
also from the plant. So this compound in the human body makes 3 things I know. So maybe in another year from now, you can interview me on this. It would be a delight. Would you believe this? Am I blessed or what? From the same plant I discovered tocotrienol. That was
Uh-huh.
accidental. There's yet another compound like that.
Wow.
This GG compound
Uh-huh.
is used in the human body to make 3 things that I know. It probably by the time you interview me, it will be more than 3 things.
Mm.
We'll just cover the 3 things, at least I state them, and then we'll
Uh-huh.
do it another
Yeah.
time. One is it is used for the synthesis of CoQ10, like that, which is
Ah.
important for energy.
Yeah.
And 2 is it for the synthesis of a vitamin K called manoquinone, MK4, manoquinone,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
for bone health,
Yeah.
good for removing calcification of the artery, good for
Mm-hmm.
brain health and bone health. So that's the second one, making CoQ10 and vitamin K2. And then the last one, which all of us as we age past age 30, we will pay attention. We ourselves, or we have elderly parent that loses muscle mass as we grow older.
Mm-hmm.
That loss of muscle mass, scientists call sarcopenia. It's very
Right.
good if you don't know to go online to read.
Mm-hmm.
Sarcopenia. Sarco is muscle, penia is loss of muscle mass
Yeah.
like that. And many of us also take a statin drug. We take a
Mm.
statin drug to lower cholesterol. Many people have high cholesterol. They take statin drug to lower cholesterol. And when you take a statin drug, the same pathway to lower cholesterol, lower GG. I'm making the connection here.
Mm-hmm.
So the pathway to lower cholesterol lowers GG.
Okay.
Notice that our nutritional world, we know that if you take statin, it lowers CoQ10. Most
Mm.
people know that.
Yeah.
But to a doctor, they care that if you take statin, they always ask, do you have back pain or muscle pain? The doctor
Mm.
is fishing for myopathy. Myo is
Okay.
muscle. Pathy
Mm-hmm.
is something wrong with the muscle.
Right.
So at the end of the day, when people take statin drug to lower cholesterol, the
Uh-huh.
short answer is GG is compromised and decimated. And when GG is decimated, it isn't enough around to make CoQ10. Hence, people know about that. And it
Uh-huh.
isn't enough to make muscle. Hence, you have myopathy. So then GG is the mother load of making CoQ10 as is to make muscle. So now as we age, we need CoQ10 to be supplemented so that
Okay.
we can have an anti-aging solution. It's not the only anti-aging solution, but it's a very critical anti-aging solution.
Yeah.
Even if you don't take drug, you have myopathy. But if you
Yeah.
do, then
Yeah.
you'll accelerate it. So that is I am really thrilled. I thought that
Yeah.
after this
Wow.
tocotrienol discovery, I will be 70 years old next year. My wife and I are going to retire. Now, God gave me
Nah, not now.
to know this, that is GG. So I'm going to
Yeah.
stick around,
Good.
to the extent that I have enough strength to study more on GG, to give the reason behind why people should be concerned and care about the issue of GG in our body. So that's it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that is in the
No,
same plan.
yeah. No, that's great. And excuse me, I totally understand. I mean, I'm 67, so, I know just myself, that the muscles and other things in the body
Yes.
just are not what they were, you know, and I'm never going to be 18 again. But then again, there's a lot of things I did when I was 18 that I don't want to go back through anyway. So that's fine. But yeah, no, that's great. I'm gonna have to go out and get some of I used to take vitamin E a lot.
Yeah.
It's been years now since I've been doing that. And with the CoQ10, I did as well. And I take a lot of vitamins, but those two just don't happen to be in
Yeah.
the
And
pack.
since we didn't cover this in detail, which is fine, in 1
Yeah.
hour is not possible to.
Yeah.
When you go on my website, I have only 3 things to download. One is Delta Gold, which is a tocotrienol, and the GG. I wrote all about this. And the second one is a GG. We call it GG Gold. It's just playing on the word gold. Delta Gold and GG Gold. And the last one is CoQ10. We add the CoQ10 to the GG because both of them are similar. So that one, because it's 2 of them, we call it dual quinol. It's 2 quinol rather than CoQ10, ubiquinol, dual quinol.
Right.
So you can download all the 3. You can see how it's good for the human body. And after you read, you may have an educated position to know what to do and how much to take.
Yeah.
So for sure, go to download this and read for yourself and you and your listener too. And if you have any question, you can follow up and send me an email through the website.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you so much,
That'd be great. And definitely we will do a follow-up when you get a little further on in some of your research.
Yes.
So look forward to talking to you next year, I would think. Probably be a good time.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe the spring. So so thank you. I'm so glad that we got this done.
I know.
It's so much valuable information. It's just it's wonderful.
With all so much glitches, this is meant to be that we can communicate this with all the odds against us. And for me, this is also a blessing. So to all your audience listening to you, I hope you have had a good Thanksgiving, and we can look forward to the holidays coming next month and all the different ones that some of us celebrate and some other ones that we don't know. But whoever it is, may this be a good ending of a year, and then to a new year coming, they'll continue to have good health. So until the next, be of good cheer and a blessing to all others whom you love, and the same with me too.
Okay. Yes,
Thank you very
absolutely.
much.
Back at you. And let me do my usual spiel at the end, which is that neither of us are medical doctors, and this is not to be seen as medical advice. And if you are having any kind of medical issues, please go and talk to your doctor. And with that, I will say thank you very much to Dr. Barrie Tan, and I will see everyone else next week.
This has been Healthy Tips After 50 with Susan Rosen. To stay on the cutting edge of the most effective health strategies, subscribe to this podcast and let us know what you thought of the show with a comment or like on iTunes. Visit healthytipsafter50.com for this episode's show notes, more resources, and free offers.